Ubisoft's games lineup looks pretty exciting, but by far my most anticipated game from the presentation had to be Watch Dogs Legion. We saw a brand new trailer, a full gameplay walkthrough, and a lot more details shared by the game's director in the 20 or so minutes that the game occupied the stage. It looked pretty awesome. It seems that this is going to be the most distinctive Watch Dogs in the series, with a whole bunch of very interesting changes coming up. We also have, of course, a release date, which is planned for March 6, 2020, and that is quite a little bit of way to go. So of course, if you enjoyed this, a like would be super appreciated, and let's dive right into this with everything we know so far. Now, the game is obviously set in London, as we already knew from the leaks a few weeks and even months back, except it's going to be somewhere in the near future with a little bit of cyberpunk going on over there. It looks like following the Brexit event, the UK became a surveillance state, and now the streets of London are pretty much filled with drones watching your every movement and private militaries that will take on anyone who doesn't comply. Of course, DedSec is now a fully fledged organization. It's much bigger than in the previous games, and you are part of it and even tasked to recruit anyone you can to start a resistance of sort and fight back the surveillance government. Just like in the previous games, it's pretty much open world as you can expect, and you have the entire city as your playground. London seems to be a living and breathing city with a lot of NPCs around and events to keep you occupied. NPCs can even be seen interacting in more ways than just one, and for example, you can see some of them taking interviews, and some of them can also be randomly checked by the militia, even riot against them. The traffic seems as busy as ever, even compared to real life London, with a whole range of very awesome vehicles you can grab. You can of course grab any of them and take them for a ride, or even run with them from the cops, and driving in general looks quite well made. From the footage I'm looking at, it seems that it's comparable or slightly more responsive compared to Watch Dogs 2, and the driving in that game was already quite well made to begin with. Now, I mentioned building up a resistance, and the game does indeed let you recruit and play as literally any character you want in the game. Some of them can be tied to certain missions, and you can get them during these missions that task you with recruiting them, but most other NPCs can be unlocked during normal play after you complete their origin story and win them on your side, which I find really cool because it gives the whole process more meaning, and I do find it more immersive. Now, I will admit I was skeptical at first for not necessarily having a main character to connect to, but the system is actually pretty well made. So every NPC you recruit has its own backstory, his own personality, and best of all, also skill set. They don't just visually look different, they also act differently, they have fully distinctive voice, and they even move in different ways, which was best showcased when one of the recruits was none other than an old lady. On top of this, as I've said, they also have their own abilities, bonuses, as well as weaknesses, and you can scan any NPC on the street to see exactly what their bonuses and weaknesses are, as well as their specialization. So for example, the three specializations in the game are Enforcer, Infiltrator, and Hacker. You can see all of these on the recruit details in the team menu. Each portrait displays an icon appropriate to one of the three classes, and of course the current level as well as the weapons equipped, and if the character is still dead or alive, is shown on the icon itself and on the portrait. And in the right side of the screen you can also see the NPC current stats and weaknesses. Beneath there are 3 perks you can unlock at certain levels, such as for example level 10 for the second perk and level 15 or 16 for the third one. And in the case of the old lady over here, there is a first skill called Direct Control, which allows you to enter turret mode while controlling the Spider-Bot gadget, and this gadget in general is like a big one on the list. I'm not sure if there's more, but this one was showcased multiple times. There's also another one called Spider Army, which lets you deploy an extra Spider-Bot, which sounds really awesome. This doesn't mean all of the hackers have to equip the same perks, as it looks like there's multiple of them you can pick for each of the same classes. In the case of this hacker recruit, the first perk is called Attract this time around, which adds a new ability to the Spider-Bot, allowing it to attract nearby guards, so you can cause a distraction or even lure them in to attack them. One of the Infiltrator recruits had an ability called Crush, letting him to execute unblockable power hits by performing a melee strike while cloaked. It does sound like there's a cloak ability in the game that we can see later on, but I'm going to go over it in just a bit. There's also an enforcer with the insert coin talent, which makes lethal shotguns to do extra damage at the cost of greatly reducing the range. And of course, all of these NPCs have their own biographies, so it feels a little bit more immersive. I really like this touch, and I find the whole idea of switching between NPCs really interesting. It doesn't just stop here though, as you can level these characters up and unlock new skills along the way, as well as unique outfits and masks according to the description of the game, so you can see the levels on their portrait. As I've said, I think a major part of the game is most definitely going to be centered around finding the best possible recruits with the best possible stats, and I don't exclude the possibility for certain NPCs to have some super OP stats or abilities that we might want to find later on, so we can better take on these enemies. Now, the way Ubisoft deals with this phase is that the recruits can also permanently die, which is a very interesting feature. If you somehow get stuck in a sticky situation that leads to your character dying, then he is pretty much gone for good, and you'll get prompted with the team menu to select the next from the remaining recruits. So yeah, it sounds definitely interesting, but you will be able to get a lot of these, so I'm not really sure what happens when you pretty much run out of them. Now, the game does offer you the possibility to save your character the first time it dies, or at the very least it does so with certain classes. When critically injured, one of the characters can be seen given the possibility to either surrender or resist and run away, and there seems to be a special ability that gives you temporary invisibility to drones, so you can make your escape following the resist option, but I'm not sure how many times you get this choice. I'm not sure if it's on a cooldown and if all of the classes have access to it, but it definitely looks interesting. Moving forward though, as I've said, combat feels similar to the previous Watch Dogs games, but because recruits are so distinctive, there is a very high degree of variability within their movements. In the case of the old lady, for example, she moves very slow, is more suited for not arousing suspicion, and can be seen infiltrating better until the very last second when she can get close to the enemy and even take them down with ease. One of the gadgets shown the most, and I'm not sure if it's the only one, is of course the spider bot, which, as we saw earlier, can be upgraded to become better at infiltrating, hacking, and even taking down enemies. It can both jump on enemies' faces and tase them, pretty much knocking them down, or even have a taser gun equipped so you can shoot from the distance. This doesn't mean, of course, that weapons are not usable, and in fact, it seems that Watch Dogs Legion offers the same level of weapon usage and variability as the previous games in the series. So for example, recruits can be using anything from pistols, SMGs, shotguns, all the way up to assault rifles. Also, weapon control seems to be a little bit better compared to Watch Dogs 2, though don't expect too much of a change. I think outside of Watch Dogs 1, Ubisoft pretty much stopped caring about guns in general and put more emphasis on melee attacks, stealth, and hacking. Now, takedowns and executions seem to play a bigger role than ever before. Enemies can be taken down from behind with simple melee attacks or even with guns, which I find really interesting. All of the guns seem to have different takedowns and executions, and they depend on the method you use and from the angle you approach them. Now, hacking, of course, is still a major part of the game, even more so probably than ever before. You can still hack into junction box to cause electrical explosions, hack into cars to take control of them, and even make them run over people, like how it was in Watch Dogs 2 and even 1, hacking enemies' earpieces to cause a disturbance so you can distract them and then attack them easily, and finally, parkour is still a part of the game, though I wish this gameplay walkthrough showed a little bit more of it, because it seems that it's not as big of an emphasis as it was in the previous Watch Dogs. It seems that this time around we will use the environment in our advantage more than previously, though I'm not sure how much more advanced the parkour is or the animations of the parkour, as there's only short sequences of them being shown. Now, moving on, as I've said, character customization is done supposedly through the leveling system, as you can unlock outfits and masks along the way, and the recruits can be seen equipping certain masks right before engaging with the special ops guy, for example, in this scene. So this might play a role at hiding your identity for a little bit, or maybe it's just customization, but we didn't see anywhere near the level of character customization we had in Watch Dogs 2, for example. The previous title had a very very wide selection of outfits, of clothes and accessories to pick from, as well as a huge number of shops to visit through the city. Also, buying and having cars and weapons delivered to you was a cool feature in the previous Watch Dogs, so I really hope this is going to be the case in Legion as well. I really hope that they all make it into the game, because so far nothing in the walkthrough was indicating that it's going to happen, so maybe it was an oversight, maybe they wanted to put more emphasis on the recruiting stage, which makes me a little bit worried because Watch Dogs 2 had some really fun and awesome ideas, so it would be a shame if Ubisoft didn't implement them in this new one as well. But with this being said and done, this has been the gameplay walkthrough as well as the trailer and everything we know so far about the game. It looks really exciting. Again, release date is March 6, 2020. Now tell me what you guys think of this. Did I miss anything in the two videos? And what did you like or dislike the most about the footage we saw at Ubisoft's press conference? Comment down below, and also don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Also subscribe to the channel for more awesome content and activate that notification bell to get these videos earlier, and I will see you guys next time, so peace out.